Welcome to The Explainer. Today we are diving into one of the most incredible stories in all of sports. I'm talking about the fairy tale journey of the Danish national football team.
So how do you win a tournament you didn't even qualify for? I mean, it sounds completely impossible, right? But it actually happened. And that one question, well, it's the key to unlocking the wild story of the Danish national football team. It's a tale of stubborn rules, explosive talent, and a miracle that absolutely nobody saw coming.
Okay, so the team's defining moment, the one that's just etched into football history forever, it all went down in the summer of 1992. And this victory was so improbable, so out of nowhere that it's just known as the miracle.
And get this, they lifted the trophy after beating the reigning world champions, Germany. I mean, talk about a pinnacle moment in their footballing history. But to really, truly understand just how unbelievable this whole thing was, we've got to rewind the clock a bit.
So long before that famous 1992 win, Denmark was, well, they were actually a powerhouse in the world of amateur football. It was like their first kind of forgotten golden age.
And what's really incredible is just how consistent they were back then. Just look at this timeline. We're talking 4 Olympic medals over several decades. Silver in 1908. Again in 1912, and another one in 1960. You know, in those early days of international football, Denmark was a seriously dominant force.
Here they are, the team that won silver all the way back in 1912. These early squads, they really established this proud footballing tradition. But, and this is a big but, a huge obstacle was about to stop all that progress in its tracks, and it would last for decades. So, you're probably wondering, right, if they were so good, why on earth did they just vanish from the world stage? Well, the answer boils down to one thing, what we'll call the professional problem.
The whole issue came down to this single, really rigid rule from the Danish Football Union, the DBU. They were kind of clinging to this old-school traditional ideal of sport, and they enforced this super strict policy. If you were a professional, getting paid to play for a club abroad, you were banned from playing for the national team. Nope, only amateurs were allowed.
So this created this totally absurd situation. Think about it. The national team could only pick amateur players from within Denmark. Meanwhile, all of the country's best, most talented players were moving abroad to play for huge European clubs. So the DBU's own rule was literally stopping its best stars from playing for their own country. It's crazy.
Okay, so by the 1970s, it was painfully obvious. This just couldn't go on. I mean, if Denmark was ever going to compete on the international stage again, something had to give. Something big had to change. And that change, well, it led to the birth of the legendary Dynamite generation. And the change came in 3 huge steps. First, in 1971, the DBU finally scrapped that crippling amateur rule. Then, in 78, they brought professional football into Denmark itself. And to top it all off, in 79 they hired their first ever full-time professional coach. Just like that, the revolution was complete. And this whole professional revolution, it completely transformed Danish football. It was like opening the floodgates. It unleashed this wave of incredible talent, and with it came this exciting, attacking style of play that earned the team a brand new nickname, Danish Dynamite.
And that really explains why they got so good so fast. With all their best players finally allowed to play, the national team was suddenly packed with stars from the top leagues in Italy, Germany, and England. In a way, Denmark got a head start on football globalization. They had this incredible level of international experience that a lot of other national teams just didn't have yet.
So this Dynamite generation, they put Denmark firmly back on the footballing map. We're talking a semi-final run at Euro 1984. They qualified for their first ever World Cup in 1986, all led by amazing players like the brilliant Michael Laudrup. They were thrilling fans everywhere. But believe it or not, their greatest moment was still to come.
And that brings us full circle, right back to that impossible victory we talked about at the very beginning, the fairy tale of 1992. It's a story that literally starts with the players on the beach on holiday.
So the story actually begins not with a win, but with a loss, a failure. Denmark finished second in their qualifying group for the 1992 European Championship. That was it. They had missed out. The dream, for all intents and purposes, was over.
But then, history intervened in a huge way. Because of the outbreak of the Yugoslav wars, international sanctions meant that Yugoslavia was disqualified.
just 10 days before the tournament was supposed to start. And who was the runner-up in their group? Denmark. So they were suddenly given the spot. Players were famously called up from their beach holidays to go compete. Can you even imagine that phone call?
And here's the thing. They weren't just there to make up the numbers. With absolutely nothing to lose, the team went on this unbelievable, incredible run. They knocked out the defending champions, the Netherlands, in the semifinal. And then, in the final, they defeated Germany, the reigning world champions, to complete one of the most astonishing upsets in the history of sports, period.
I mean, think about it. From not even qualifying to lifting the trophy, it's just mind-blowing. It was a victory that cemented the Danish team's place in football folklore forever. A true, perfect example of the unpredictable magic of sports.
This whole story is just such a powerful reminder that sometimes the most unbelievable, most far-fetched fairy tales can actually come true. Which really leaves us with just one final question to think about. Is this the greatest underdog story in the history of sports?